The air in my grandpa's study felt wrong. It smelled like old books and lemon polish, just like it always did, but something was missing. He was gone. And in his place, on the giant oak desk where he taught me everything, was a single, heavy leather folder. My hands were shaking. I knew what was inside. It wasn't just paper. It was a $100 million hotel empire. It was my entire future. But it also felt like a trap. I was 21 years old, I was all alone, and I was terrified. What did he know that I didn't? You see, in my family, inheritance isn't a gift. It's a weapon. And my grandpa, Arthur Magana, had just handed me the biggest one. He always said he was testing me, preparing me. But preparing me for what? For this. The folder had my name on it, Lisa Magana, but I knew 2 other people thought it belonged to them. People who were supposed to love me. People who were on their way right now, I could just feel it. Stick with me, and I'll show you exactly how a $100 million empire can tear a family apart, and the one mind-blowing secret move my grandpa made to save it all. I opened the folder. The smell of ink and expensive paper hit me. The properties. Bank codes. $100 million in brick and steel. My head was spinning. Then I saw it. Tucked under the main deed, a small handwritten note from him. It wasn't a congratulations. It wasn't an I love you. It was just 6 words. The test isn't the money, Lisa. What? I read it again. The test isn't the money. Then what was it? I didn't have time to think. I heard a car door slam outside. My stomach dropped. They were here. My mother, Elena, doesn't walk into a room, she takes it over. She's all flashing smiles, perfect hair, and a voice that sounds like honey but stings like a bee. She inherited my grandpa's sharp blue eyes but none of his kindness. She always wanted the empire. She believed it was hers by birthright. She never understood grandpa's obsession with building or legacy. She just wanted the money. She wanted the power. And she hated that he spent more time with me, his apprentice, than with her, his daughter. And then there was David, her new husband. He was the complete opposite of my real dad, who was quiet and kind. David was loud, wore shiny suits, and smelled like expensive cologne that couldn't hide the smell of cheap ambition. He called himself a business consultant, whatever that means. He was always whispering things to Mom about synergy and global expansion, words that meant nothing. He was a leech, and he'd attached himself to my mother, thinking she was his ticket to the Magana fortune. He had no idea who he was messing with. The front door didn't knock. Just opened. The sound of high heels clicked on the marble floor of the entryway. Blick, blick, blick. Getting closer. My mother's voice dripped with fake sadness. Lisa, darling. We came as soon as we heard. Are you all alone in this big house? She appeared in the doorway of the study, dressed in black, but her eyes were scanning the room, hungry. They landed on the open folder on the desk. Her fake sad smile faded, replaced by something sharp, something cold. David was right behind her, his hands in his pockets, already looking around like he owned the place. This was the moment my grandpa warned me about. Do I stand up or do I let them walk all over me? It's a choice we all have to make, right? When family tries to take what isn't theirs. If you believe that truth and hard work should win over greed, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't be like them, thinking you can just take what someone else built. Subscribe if you stand for what's right. And if you think family should be about love, not money, comment family over fortune down below. Oh, sweetheart, my mother said, walking toward the desk. She didn't look at me, she looked at the papers. $100 million. That's a lot. David put his hand on my shoulder. Felt heavy and wrong. It's too much, Lisa, he said, his voice trying to sound kind. A girl your age, all this responsibility. You'll be eaten alive. You need guidance. He was already reaching for the folder. That's why, my mother cut in, her voice suddenly strong. David and I have decided. We're going to manage it for you. As a family. I slammed the leather folder shut. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet room. Both of them flinched. David pulled his hand back like he'd been burned. My mother's eyes narrowed. "What do you think you're doing, Lisa?" she snapped. The honey was gone. This was the real her. I stood up, my legs shaking but my voice steady. I remembered Grandpa's note. The test isn't the money. Finally understood. The test was them. "No," I said. Just one word. But it was enough. My mother's face went white, then a deep angry red I knew all too well. "No," she repeated, her voice a low hiss. "No." David stepped forward, his fake smile back. "Lisa, let's be practical." I cut him off. He left it to me. Name. Lisa Magana. Not yours. My mother took a step toward me, her hand raised. But then she stopped. She laughed. Cold, empty sound. "Fine," she said, her voice chilling me to the bone. "If that's how you want it, then pack your bags. You have 1 hour to get out of this house." 1 hour. The words just hung in the air, heavy and sharp like broken glass. 1 hour to leave my home. The house I grew up in. The house where Grandpa taught me to read, to dream. My mother's eyes were cold. She meant it. David was already smiling, that oily, wet smile like he'd just won. He was probably already picking out new furniture in his head. My heart was pounding like a drum, bam bam bam, against my ribs. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. But then I looked down at the leather folder. Grandpa's note. "The test isn't the money." "You can't," I whispered. My voice was shaking but I said it. "You can't kick me out." My mother laughed. Short, ugly sound. "Watch me, Lisa. This house is still in my name. For now." David nodded. "She's right, kiddo. The paperwork." But that's when I saw it. Tucked inside the folder, a different piece of paper I'd missed. It wasn't a deed. It was a bright red sticky note. It was Grandpa's messy handwriting, the kind he used when he was in a hurry. It just said one word. Cellar. The cellar. Why, what did that mean? My mother crossed her arms. "The clock is ticking, Lisa. 60 minutes. She was enjoying this. She was enjoying watching me panic. I took a deep breath, trying to make my voice strong. "Fine," I said. "I'll pack." My mother looked surprised. David looked relieved. He probably thought I was going to fight to make a scene. "Good girl," Mom said, her voice full of fake pity. "It's for the best. We'll take good care of everything." I just nodded. I turned and walked out of the study, leaving them there with my inheritance on the desk. But I wasn't going to my room. I was going to the cellar. The cellar stairs were steep and dark. This wasn't the fancy wine cellar David liked to show off to his fake friends. This was Grandpa's real cellar, hidden behind a locked door in the back of the pantry. It always smelled like damp earth and secrets. I never knew why he kept it locked. He always said it was just storage, but his eyes would twinkle. My hands fumbled with the old iron key he'd given me on my 18th birthday. He'd said, "You'll know when to use this." I guess when my mom tries to steal my life was the moment he meant. The heavy door creaked open. It was cold inside. Just one bare light bulb hung from the ceiling, pulling on a string. The room was full of boxes, old furniture covered in white sheets like ghosts, and a safe. A huge, black, old-fashioned metal safe. It was the kind you see in old movies. I'd lived in this house my whole life and never seen this safe before. How had he hidden it? My heart skipped. This was it. This had to be the test. But what was inside? And how was I supposed to open it? I didn't have a combination. I ran my fingers over the cold metal. No numbers. No keyhole. Just a small brass plaque. It read, "For Lisa. When the test begins." I wanted to scream again. This wasn't fair. "How, Grandpa?" I whispered into the dusty air. "How do I open it?" And then, like a ghost, I heard his voice in my head. "What's the foundation of everything, Lisa?" It's what he always asked me when we looked at blueprints. The foundation. I looked down. On the floor, scratched into the concrete right in front of the safe, was a date. My birthday. 08-14. I punched the numbers into the plaque. It wasn't a plaque. It was a hidden keypad. The safe door was heavy. It hissed open. It wasn't full of money. It wasn't gold. It was files. Dozens of thin manila file folders. And a small black USB drive. I pulled out the top file. My mother's name was on it. Elena Magana. Opened it. Bank statements. From a bank I didn't recognize. In a country I'd never heard of. Showed withdrawals. Huge amounts. From the hotel accounts. Going straight to a consulting fee. David. He wasn't just her husband. He was stealing from her. And she was letting him. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the papers. This wasn't just greed. This was illegal. This was fraud. Grandpa knew. He knew all of it. He had been watching them. He'd been collecting proof for years. This whole time while I was studying architecture, he was building a case against his own daughter. The $100 million wasn't just an inheritance. It was bait. He knew they would try to take it. And this safe. This was the trap. But why didn't he just stop them? Why did he leave this for me to find? I heard a noise upstairs. A step. Heavy ones. David. Lisa, he called out. Your hour is almost up. My blood turned to ice. They were getting impatient. I grabbed the file, stuffed the USB drive in my pocket, and looked at the safe. There were so many more files. What was on them? What other secrets was Grandpa hiding about David? About my mother? I didn't have time. Had to close it. I pushed the heavy door, but it wouldn't budge. It was stuck. And the footsteps were getting closer, coming down the hall. Lisa, where are you? My mother's voice called out, sharp and angry. I'm in the pantry. I yelled back, my voice cracking. I shoved the file under my shirt, my heart hammering against the papers. I gave the safe door one last, desperate push. It scraped against the concrete floor with a horrible loud "tree," a sound that echoed up the stairs. The footsteps stopped. The house went completely silent. They had heard me. They knew I wasn't in the pantry. They knew I was in Grandpa's secret cellar. And I was holding the one thing that could destroy them both. The doorknob at the top of the stairs started to turn. The doorknob turned slow and loud in the tiny dark space. The door scraped open. It wasn't my mom. It was David. His eyes, even in the dim light, were not smiling. They were like little black stones. He looked past me at the huge, open, empty safe. Well, 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 he said. His voice a low growl I'd never heard before. What do we have here? Playing treasure hunter, Lisa. He was trying to sound casual, but I could feel the anger coming off him in waves. He was mad. And he was scared. My mother pushed past him, shoving him into the doorframe. Where is it? She shrieked, her voice echoing in the small room. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at the safe. Where's the real inheritance? The gold. The bearer bonds. Arthur always loved his stupid secrets. She lunged at the safe, pulling out the other manila folders, throwing them on the dusty floor. Files. Just files. This is junk. She was frantic, her eyes wide and wild. She didn't even see the file I had stuffed under my shirt. But David did. His eyes locked right onto the square bulge over my stomach. What's that, Lisa? He asked, his voice deadly quiet. He took a step toward me. My mother finally stopped, her head snapping up. What's what? She asked, confused. David pointed a thick finger right at my chest. She's hiding something. Give it to me. I backed up, hitting the cold stone wall. It's nothing. I yelled, my voice squeaking. It's just my stuff. But he knew I was lying. He lunged. I dodged, but he was too fast. He grabbed the front of my shirt and ripped. The file fell to the ground, sliding open. The top page, a bank statement with his name on it, lay face up under the single bare bulb. The world stopped. My mother, David, and me. We all just stared at the paper. My mom read the name. David Miller. Consulting fee. $500,000. Her voice was a tiny whisper. She looked confused. David. What is this? David wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me. His face wasn't oily or smiley anymore. It was pale. It was the face of a man who had just been caught. He knew exactly what this was. He knew I knew. The power in the room shifted, fast and hard like a car crash. You, he whispered. His eyes full of a hate so pure it burned. You little. He didn't even finish. He didn't care about my mom anymore. He only cared about me and what I knew. My mom grabbed his arm. David, what is going on? What is that paper? Is that our money? She still didn't get it. She still thought they were a team. David shook her off, his eyes never leaving mine. She's trying to frame me, Elena. Can't you see? The old man put her up to this. Trying to tear us apart. He was good. He was so good at lying. My mom looked at me, her eyes narrowing again. She was confused, torn between her husband and the proof on the floor. Lisa, did you plant this? She asked. This was my chance. I could have told her everything. But before I could speak, David moved. He snatched the file from the floor. He wasn't just scared anymore. He was in control. This is a misunderstanding, he said, his voice fake calm. Just a little family business. Right, Lisa. He was threatening me. Right in front of my mother. But what was he so afraid of? It was just one file. What else did Grandpa have on him? This is the moment. The moment you see who people really are. Not the smiling masks they wear, but the monsters hiding underneath. If you've ever had someone show you their true, ugly colors, hit that subscribe button. You're not alone. Don't let the Davids of the world win. Don't let them silence the truth. And if you believe a mother should protect her child, not her greedy husband, comment a mom's job below. Let me know you're on my side. David straightened his tie. He even tried to smile, but it looked more like a snarl. Now, he said, let's all go upstairs and talk about this like adults. Your hour is up, Lisa. But, he looked at my mom. Maybe we can be flexible. If Lisa is willing to be cooperative. He was offering me a deal with the devil. He wanted to know what else I knew. He wanted to know if I'd found anything else in the safe. He didn't know about the other files. And he definitely didn't know about the USB drive. I looked at my mom. She was watching me, her face a mask of suspicion. She didn't trust him, but she didn't trust me either. She just wanted the money. I was trapped between two monsters. There's nothing to talk about, I said, trying to keep my voice from shaking. That's my inheritance. And you? I pointed at David. You're a thief. David laughed. Strong words, kiddo. He turned to my mom. Elena, darling, why don't you go upstairs? Get us all a drink. Lisa and I just need to clear the air. He wanted to be alone with me. My blood ran cold. My mom looked at him, then at me. No, she said. Whatever you have to say, you can say it in front of me. David's eye twitched. Just for a second. He wasn't in charge of her, not really. But then he smiled. All right. Fine. He turned back to me, the smile dropping. He grabbed my arm. Hard. His fingers dug into my skin. Where is it? He hissed. His face so close to mine I could smell his coffee. Where's the rest of it? Where is the USB drive? My heart stopped. How did he know? How could he possibly know about the USB drive? My blood didn't just run cold. Froze. It turned into a block of solid ice in my veins. How did he know? I hadn't said a word. I hadn't even looked at it. The tiny black USB drive was digging into my hip from inside my pocket, but there was no way he could have seen it. It wasn't possible. Did he have cameras in the house? Was he watching me this whole time? My mind was racing, trying to find an answer, but all I could feel was pure, cold panic. He knew. The one piece of evidence I thought was my secret weapon. He already knew it existed. What? What USB drive? I stammered, trying to sound confused. It was a terrible lie. My voice was shaking, and my eyes probably looked like a scared rabbit's. David's face twisted into a snarl. Don't play with me. He squeezed my arm, his fingers digging in like claws. I winced, a little cry escaping my throat. The old man was obsessed with backups. He would never just leave paper. He was right. Grandpa was always talking about redundancy. He always had a plan A, B, and C. And David knew that about him. This wasn't a stranger. This was an enemy. My mother finally snapped out of her confusion. David, stop it. You're hurting her, she yelled, pulling on his shoulder. What USB drive? What is going on? She was looking at him, really looking at him for the first time. She was finally seeing the man I saw, not the charming consultant. But David just shook her off. His eyes still locked on me. This doesn't concern you, Elena, he spat. This is between me and her. He was so desperate, so terrified of what was on that drive, that he was willing to drop the nice guy act completely. What could possibly be on it? I don't have it, I yelled, and this time it was half true. I mean, I had it, but I was going to deny it until my last breath. Grandpa didn't leave anything else. David laughed, a horrible dry sound. You're a bad liar, Lisa. Just like your father. That single comment, that dig at my dad, was what did it. The fear didn't go away, but something new mixed with it. Fury. A hot, burning rage that started in my chest and spread to my hands. Get your hands off me, I said, my voice low and dangerous. This is the part of the story where you have to decide. Are you going to be a victim, or are you going to fight back? We all have people in our lives who try to bully us, to take what's ours, to make us feel small. If you believe in standing up for yourself, even when you're terrified, hit that subscribe button. Show the world you're a fighter, not a follower. And if you've ever had to be the strong one in your family, comment, I am strong, down below. We're in this together. David just squeezed harder. Give it to me, Lisa. Or I'll take it. He started to reach for my pocket with his other hand. This was it. It was now or never. I looked past him at my mother. She was just standing there, frozen. Her face was pale, her mouth open. She was watching her husband threaten her daughter, and she was doing nothing. She was useless. I was on my own, just like Grandpa had always known I would be. This was the test. Not the money. Not the safe. I said, get OFF. I screamed. And I moved. I wasn't an apprentice in an office anymore. I was a cornered animal. I stomped my heel hard onto his shiny, expensive shoe. He roared in pain and his grip loosened just a tiny bit. But it was enough. I ripped my arm free. At the same time, I grabbed the closest thing on the dusty cellar shelf. It was a heavy wooden toolbox. One of Grandpa's old ones. I didn't even think. I just swung it. I swung it right at his outstretched hand. Clack. The sound of the heavy box hitting his knuckles echoed in the small stone room. David screamed a high-pitched, ugly sound and stumbled back, clutching his hand to his chest. You broke it, he howled, his face white with pain. I didn't care. I grabbed the file from the floor, shoving it back under my shirt. I looked at my mother. Her hands were over her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. She was still just standing there. She wasn't going to help me. She wasn't going to do anything. So I ran. I shoved past her, past David, who was still crying about his hand, and I bolted for the stairs. I could hear my own breathing, loud and ragged in my ears. I just had to get out of the cellar, out of the house. I had the proof. I had the USB drive. Had to get to somewhere. I didn't even know where. I just knew I had to run. I was halfway up the dark, narrow steps when I felt a hand grab my ankle. It was David. His face was a mask of pure, murderous rage. He'd come after me, ignoring his broken hand. "You're not going anywhere, you little..." Yank. I lost my balance. I was falling backward, back into the dark, back toward him. My hands flailed, trying to grab the wall, the railing, anything. But there was nothing. I was going down. And he was waiting for me at the bottom. My world flipped. 1 second I was running up, the next I was falling down, backward into the dark. My head hit the wooden steps, thud, thud, thud. The air rushed out of my lungs. I landed hard on the concrete floor of the cellar, the impact jarring my whole body. For a second, all I could see were black spots. David was a dark shadow above me, breathing like an angry bull. His face was twisted. He wasn't the smirking, oily consultant anymore. He was a monster. He was coming down the stairs, one good hand, one broken, ready to finish this. "You stupid little girl," he hissed, his voice hoarse with pain and rage. He lunged at me, not for my arm but for my pocket. He knew exactly where the USB drive was. I rolled, scrambling away on my hands and knees like a crab. The concrete was cold and gritty against my palms. "Mom!" I screamed, my voice cracking. "Mom, help me!" I looked up at the top of the stairs. She was still standing there. Silhouette. Statue. She didn't move. She didn't say a word. She just watched. My own mother. That look, that nothing on her face, hurt more than hitting the stairs. It was like a slap. I was completely, totally alone. David grabbed my ankle again. His good hand like a steel trap. He dragged me across the floor. "You've ruined everything," he shouted, his face purple. "You have no idea what you've done. That's not just... You don't know who you're messing with." What did that mean? Who was he talking about? It wasn't just my mom's money he was scared of. It was something else. Someone else. Adrenaline is a funny thing. It makes you weak, but it also makes you strong. I had nothing to lose. He was dragging me, but I was kicking. My foot connected with his knee. He grunted, his grip loosening for just a second. It was all I needed. I scrambled away, toward the wall of shelves. I grabbed the first thing my hand touched, a glass jar full of old screws. "I hate you!" I screamed, and I threw it. I threw it as hard as I could, right at his head. He ducked, and the jar shattered against the stone wall behind him. Crash! The sound seemed to wake my mother. "David!" she finally shrieked. "Stop! You'll hurt her." David, distracted by the glass, turned to yell at her. "Shut up, Elena. This is your fault." That was my chance. While he was looking up, I bolted. I wasn't going to be trapped. I flew past him, leaping up the stairs, taking them 2 at a time. I was faster than him. He was heavy, and his hand was broken. I could hear him roaring my name, clambering up the steps behind me. I burst through the pantry door, back into the light of the kitchen. My mother was still at the cellar door, her face white. I shoved past her. You let him." I sobbed, the words ripping from my chest. "You just watched." I didn't wait for an answer. Ran. Through the kitchen, past the dining room where our family used to eat, into the grand marble hallway. The front door was right there. Freedom. My hand was on the shiny brass deadbolt. I could hear David's heavy footsteps thundering on the hardwood floor right behind me. "You're not leaving," he bellowed. My fingers were trembling. I couldn't get the lock to turn. It was stuck. Or maybe my hands were just shaking too hard. "No, no, no, no." I whimpered, pulling at it. It wouldn't budge. He was on me. He grabbed my shoulder and spun me around, slamming me back against the heavy oak door. The wood dug into my spine. He was so close, his face red and sweaty. His good hand pinned my shoulder. With his broken hand, he pointed a shaking, crooked finger at my face. "Give me now." He was panting, his eyes wild. He was going to hurt me. He was really going to hurt me. He grabbed the front of my shirt and the file folder fell out, scattering those awful bank statements all over the marble floor. "Not that," he screamed. "The drive." He knew the papers were just a copy. The real proof was in my pocket. He jammed his hand into my pocket, his fingers closing around the tiny piece of plastic. He had it. He was pulling it out. I was too late. I had failed. Then, ding, the doorbell. It was so loud it seemed to shake the whole house. It rang right against my back. David froze. His hand was still in my pocket, his fingers holding the drive. His eyes were wide. My mother, who had finally followed us, stopped dead in the hallway. We all just stopped. The whole world went silent, except for the echo of the chime. David looked at me, then at the door, then back at me. Ooh. Who on earth was ringing the doorbell? Ding. Again. Louder this time. My whole body was pressed against the door, the vibration going right through my back. David was a statue, his hand still deep in my pocket, his fingers clenched around the tiny USB drive. I could feel his knuckles digging into my hip. He had it. He had everything. He'd won. His eyes were wide, darting between me and the peephole. He was trapped. He was a wild animal caught in a cage, and I was in the cage with him. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would break. "Who is it?" my mother whispered, her voice a tiny rattling sound. She was wringing her hands, her eyes terrified. "David, who is at the door?" David ignored her. He was breathing hard through his nose. He ripped his hand out of my pocket, taking the drive with it. He shoved it into his pocket fast. "Get rid of them," he hissed at my mother. "I don't care who it is. Tell them we're grieving. Tell them to go away." He still had his other hand on my shoulder, pinning me. He was going to make me watch my mom lie for him. My mother stumbled forward, her face a mess of fear and confusion. She looked like a puppet. She peeked through the peephole. Her whole body stiffened. Oh no," she whispered. David's grip on my shoulder tightened until it hurt. "Who?" he growled. "Who is it?" My mother looked back at him, her eyes begging. It's Mark. My dad. My dad was at the door. I hadn't seen him in almost a year. Why was he here? How did he even know Grandpa was gone? My world wasn't just spinning. It was breaking into a million pieces. David's face went from angry to something else. Something I couldn't read. "Mark," he scoffed. "Perfect." He let go of my shoulder, shoving me hard. I stumbled, almost falling over the papers scattered on the floor. "Open it," David ordered my mother. "Let's get this all over with at once." He was happy. Why was he happy my dad was here? My mom fumbled with the lock, the same lock I couldn't open, and pulled the heavy door open. And there he was. My dad, Mark, stood on the porch. He looked older. He was calm, just like I remembered. He was the opposite of David in every way. Quiet, steady, and his eyes were sad. He was holding a small bouquet of flowers. He must have heard about Grandpa. He looked at my mom, then his eyes found me. He saw me standing there, shaking, my shirt ripped. He saw the file folders all over the floor. His gaze moved to David, who was standing there, trying to look in charge, with his broken, swelling hand. My dad's face didn't change, but his eyes got sharper. "Lisa, what's going on here?" Before I could say a word, David stepped forward, putting himself between me and my dad. "Mark, what a surprise." His voice was back to being oily and smooth. "This isn't a good time. As you can see, we're in the middle of a family discussion." He tried to smile. "Lisa is very emotional. She's not herself." He was painting me as the crazy one, the hysterical child. My blood boiled. He was lying. He was lying about everything, and he had my proof in his pocket. "He's lying," he yelled. The words just burst out of me. "Dad, he's lying." He. David shot me a look that said, "Say one more word and I'll end you." Froze. My dad saw it. He saw the look. He didn't look at David. He kept his eyes on me. What's he lying about, Lisa? His voice was so calm, but it cut right through the tension. It was the first time all day I felt like maybe I wasn't completely alone. My mother finally spoke. Mark, you shouldn't be here, she said, her voice thin. This is private. My dad looked at her. He's hurting her, Elena. Can't you see that? David laughed. Hurting her? I'm trying to help her. She's hysterical. She's been destroying the house, making up crazy stories. She needs a doctor. He was good. He was so good. In 30 seconds, he'd turned me from the victim into the villain. And my mom just nodded along. He's right, Mark. She's not well. I couldn't believe it. My own mother. Siding with him. Siding against me. My dad looked at me, then at the scattered papers on the floor. He bent down and picked one up. It was the bank statement. The one with David's name on it. David's smile vanished. Hey, David snapped. That's private. My dad just... Read it. He looked at the paper, then at David. Then he looked at my mom. Elena, he asked. His voice full of a sadness so deep it broke my heart. What did you let him do? David puffed out his chest. He took a step toward my dad. You have no right to be here, Mark. You left. Remember. You walked out. This isn't your family anymore. My dad didn't flinch. He just folded the paper very slowly and tucked it into his own pocket. I left you, Elena, he said, his voice quiet but hard as steel. I never left her. He took one step into the house, standing between me and David. Now, David, he said, why don't you give me what's in your pocket? The hallway was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. All three of us, me, Mom, and David, were just frozen, staring at my dad. My dad. The man who never raised his voice, who never started a fight. He just stood there, calm as a mountain, with his hand out. Give it to me, David. He wasn't asking. He was telling. David, for the first time, looked small. He looked cornered. He still had my USB drive, my proof, in his pocket. He had the win. But my dad was here. And my dad was not afraid of him. David tried to laugh. It came out like a cough, all dry and cracked. What are you talking about, Mark? You're crazy. Just like her. He pointed his good hand at me. I don't have anything. My dad didn't even blink. He just took one more step into the house, standing right in front of David, so close they were almost touching. I know you, David, my dad said. His voice so low and quiet it was scarier than any scream. I know exactly what kind of man you are. I saw you coming the first day Elena brought you home. My mother made a little noise. Mark, please. Don't do this. Let's just talk. David saw his opening. He put his arm around my mom's shoulders, pulling her close. See, Mark. Your wife doesn't want you here. Why don't you get out? Go back to wherever it is you came from. We're a family. We'll handle this. He was using my mom as a shield. My dad looked at her. His eyes were just so sad. Is this really what you want, Elena? This man? This thief? After everything Arthur gave you? My mom wouldn't look at him. She just stared at the floor. And in that second I knew. She was going to choose David. She was going to choose the money and the lies over me and my dad. Over the truth. It was like a knife in my chest. But my dad. He'd been expecting it. He sighed a long, tired sound. I was hoping you'd changed, Elena. For Lisa's sake. He turned his eyes back to David. Give me the drive. It's over. David just smirked. You're a fool. You have no proof. You have no power here. I have the power. And then my dad smiled. A real actual smile. It was tiny and it was sad, but it was there. You think that's the only one, don't you? David's smirk vanished. What? My dad looked at me. Lisa, your grandpa. He was a very smart man. He was the best apprentice I ever knew. he said, and my heart swelled. He loved you more than anything. He turned back to David. He knew you'd try this. He knew you'd get the drive. He was counting on it. That one. It's a fake. It's empty. The blood drained from David's face. He looked like he'd seen a ghost. You're lying, he stammered, his hand going to his pocket. He's lying, he yelled at my mom. But my dad just shook his head. Am I? Your grandpa was always 2 steps ahead, David. He taught me. And he taught Lisa. He called me last week. He told me everything. He told me you were stealing from the company. This was it. The counterplan. It wasn't just me. It was my dad. It was Grandpa. He had been pulling the strings all along. This is the moment, right? The moment the bad guy realizes he's not as smart as he thinks. If you've ever waited for that moment, if you believe that the truth always finds a way out, then hit that subscribe button right now. Don't let the liars and the cheats win. And if you believe in a father's love, if you believe he should protect his family, comment a father's promise below. Let's show the world we stand with families like mine. David was panting. He looked at my mom, then at me, then at my dad. He was looking for a way out. You can't prove anything, he shouted. My dad just nodded. You're right. Can't. Not from here. He reached into his own pocket, the one he'd put the bank statement in. But he didn't pull out the paper. He pulled out a key. Small, strange silver key. But he can. David stared at the key. What's that? I've seen that key. My dad looked at me, a new light in his eyes. Your grandpa gave this to me, Lisa. He said you'd know what to do with it. He tossed the key to me. Caught it. It was heavy. I'd never seen it before. It's for the foundation stone, my dad said. The one at the first hotel. The one he laid with his own hands. My mind flashed to the old black and white photo in Grandpa's study. Him, 21 years old, putting a single marked brick in place. What was in there? David knew. He knew exactly what it was. His face was a mask of pure terror. No, he wouldn't. He wasn't talking to us. He was talking to himself. And then he did the one thing I didn't expect. He shoved my mother. He shoved her hard right into my dad. My dad stumbled, catching her. And in that second of chaos, David ran. He wrenched the front door open and sprinted out onto the lawn, heading for his car. He was running. He was escaping. But my dad... He just stood up, helped my mom, and watched him go. He wasn't chasing him. He just looked at me, holding the key. It's okay, Lisa. Let him run. He can't get away. Because the real USB drive is with the police. The police. The words echoed in the hallway. My brain felt like a computer that had too many windows open. It was frozen. David was gone. I could hear his car tires spitting gravel on the driveway as he sped away, running like the coward he was. But I was still standing there, staring at my dad. The police. All this time I thought I was alone. I thought it was me against the world. But Grandpa and my dad, they had a plan. They were working together. They were protecting me, even when I couldn't see them. I looked over at my mother. She wasn't a monster anymore. She was just a small broken person. She slid down the wall, her fancy clothes looking silly, and just sat on the cold marble floor. Her hands were shaking. He pushed me, she whispered to no one. He just shoved me. She wasn't crying because David was a thief. She was crying because he'd finally stopped pretending he loved her. That was the only part that hurt her. And seeing that, it made me feel nothing but empty. She didn't know about this part, my dad said, his voice heavy. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking at me. What part? Asked my voice a whisper. Grandpa called me a month ago, Lisa. Not last week. A month ago. He found the first wire transfer. The one to David's secret account. My heart stopped. A month. He knew. For a month. Dad nodded. He knew. He was so ashamed. He didn't want to tell you. He didn't want you to know that your mother. She was the one giving David the passwords. I couldn't breathe. My own mother. She wasn't just watching. She was helping him. She was holding the ladder while he robbed our family. This is the moment, isn't it? The moment you find out who your real family is. It's not always blood. It's about who stands with you when the world is on fire. My dad stood with me. My grandpa stood with me. My mom. She just brought the gasoline. If you believe that loyalty is what makes a family, hit that subscribe button. Don't side with the people who betray the ones they're supposed to love. I finally found my voice. So, the drive David took. The one he almost broke my arm for? My dad let out a small, tired smile. Fake. Complete fake. Your grandpa spent an entire afternoon loading it with junk files. He knew David was paranoid. He knew he'd been in his office. He left it in the safe for David to find. It was a trap. The whole thing. The safe, the cellar, the fight. Grandpa had planned it all. He knew David would get desperate. He knew he would show his true colors. So the police have the real one, I said, relief washing over me. It's over. But my dad's smile faded. The police have copies, he said, choosing his words carefully. They have all the bank records. The wire transfers. They have enough to arrest David for fraud. He won't get far. That part is over. I looked at him. But. I hear a but. He was silent for a long moment, just looking at me, at the daughter he hadn't seen in a year. I held up the heavy silver key he had given me. Then what is this, Dad? If the police have the proof, what's this for? You said David was terrified of this. My dad took a deep breath. His eyes looked so tired. The police have the proof of what David stole. The money. That's a simple crime. He paused and his voice dropped. This key. This is for the thing he was blackmailing your grandpa with. Blackmail. The word hit me like a stone. What? What do you mean? David was blackmailing Grandpa. My dad nodded. Your grandpa. He made a mistake, Lisa. Long time ago. When he first built the hotel. He wouldn't tell me what it was. He just said David found proof of it. Something hidden in the foundation of the first hotel. He was using it to control your grandpa. He was using it to force your mother. To help him. I didn't know. My mother's voice was a thin, reedy cry from the floor. I swear, Mark. I didn't know about any blackmail. He said Arthur owed us. He said he was just taking what was rightfully ours. My dad didn't even look at her. He was just watching me. He had let David run. He had let him go. Because the wire fraud was just the beginning. And the real secret, the one Grandpa was so ashamed of, was still hidden. He's running, Dad, I whispered, the fear creeping back in. He's getting away. My dad shook his head. He's not running from the police, Lisa. He's running to the hotel. The police will catch him for the fraud. But that key, that's for the other thing. He put his hand on my shoulder. He's going to try and get that box. The one with Grandpa's secret. He's going to try and destroy it. It's his last chance. And we have to beat him there. The car ride was a blur. My dad's hands were tight on the steering wheel. His knuckles white. I was clutching the heavy silver key in my hand, my heart hammering against my ribs. We'd left my mother sitting on the marble floor. I didn't even look back. Couldn't. All I could see was David's car speeding away. He was going to the hotel. He was going to destroy Grandpa's last secret. And why did I feel like I had to protect it? What had Grandpa done? Dad, I asked, my voice small. What did he do? What was the blackmail? My dad kept his eyes on the road. We were flying down the highway, the city lights smearing past the window. I don't know, Lisa, he said, and his voice was heavy. I really don't. He wouldn't tell me. He just said it was a mistake he made when he was 21. When he was just a kid, just like you, trying to build something. Mistake. A mistake so big, David could use it to tear our family apart, even after Grandpa was gone. What kind of mistake was that? I looked down at the key in my hand. It was old, but it was solid. Grandpa wasn't a bad person, I whispered. My dad looked over at me, just for a second. His eyes full of a sad, deep love. No, Lisa. He wasn't. He was the best man I ever knew. He sighed. But good men can make bad choices, especially when they're young and scared. David didn't find this secret until a few months ago. He was consulting. He was digging. He was looking for dirt, and he found it. We pulled up to the hotel. It wasn't one of the new, shiny glass ones. This was the Magana Inn. First one. The roadside motel in Vermont that Grandpa built with his own 2 hands. Looked small and old, but it was clean and the lights were on. Felt like him. My dad didn't park in the lot. He drove around the back to the oldest part of the building, the part from the black and white photos. The foundation stone, he said, jumping out of the car. It's on the east wall. We ran. The air was cold, and my breath was coming out in little white clouds. There it was, just like in the picture. A single brick, set a little apart from the others, with the letters AM, and a date carved into it. It looked so normal. But as I got closer I saw it. It wasn't a brick. It was a stone, and it had a tiny, almost invisible keyhole right in the center. I looked at the key in my hand. It was a perfect match. I was just about to put it in. Screech. Tires screamed. Car door slammed. Don't touch that, David. He was here. He ran around the corner of the building, his face a mess of sweat and dirt. His broken hand was tucked into his jacket, but his good hand was empty. He was panting, his eyes wild and red. You're too late, Lisa. It's over. He was standing between me and the car. He'd beaten us here. Or had he? He was looking at the key in my hand, his eyes hungry. Give me that key, he snarled. My dad stepped right in front of me, shielding me with his body. Get out of here, David. My dad's voice was low and dangerous. It's done. The police are on their way. David laughed. A high, crazy sound that bounced off the brick walls. The police. The police. You think I care about the police? You think a few years in jail for fraud is what I was afraid of? He was yelling now, his voice cracking. You have no idea what's going on, do you, Mark? He was right. I didn't. What was worse than jail? What was he so afraid of? What did Grandpa do, David? I yelled, stepping out from behind my dad. What was the secret? David's wild eyes snapped to me. He smiled. A real smile. A smile of pure, evil joy. He's got you, doesn't he? Even from the grave. The perfect, sainted Arthur Magana. He was walking closer, his good hand held up. You want to know. You really want to know what your hero did. This is the moment, isn't it? The one where the truth, no matter how ugly, finally comes out. If you've ever had to face a hard truth, one that could change everything, hit that subscribe button. The truth is always better than a lie, even when it hurts. Don't be like the people who hide in the dark. Stand in the light. And if you believe that everyone deserves to know their family's true history, comment, "The truth sets you free" below. He told me. He said it was a mistake, I whispered, my hand shaking. Key felt so heavy. David cackled. A mistake. Is that what he called it? He was just a few feet away now. My dad tensed, ready to move. Your grandpa, Lisa, David said, his voice dropping to a nasty whisper. He didn't just build this hotel. He stole it. Just stared. Stole it. How? How could he steal something he built? Didn't make any sense. He's lying, Lisa, my dad said, his voice tight. He's just trying to save himself. But David just kept smiling at me. Am I lying? He cooed. Then why don't you open it? Go on. Use the key. See for yourself. He was daring me. He wanted me to see it. He wanted me to know. He wanted me to be the one to destroy my own grandpa's memory. And the worst part. The sick, horrible, twisted part. He wasn't running from us. He was running with us. Because he didn't have a key. He needed me. He needed me to open the box. He needs me. I whispered the words into the cold night air. The key felt like it was burning a hole in my hand. David was smiling. That same, ugly, wet smile he had in the cellar. He wanted me to open it. He'd chased me all this way not to stop me but to make me do this. Go on, Lisa, he hissed, his voice like a snake's. Open it. See the real Arthur Magana. See the lie your whole life is built on. My dad's hand was a heavy, warm weight on my shoulder. Lisa, he said, his voice a low rumble. You don't have to. This is his game. Not yours. But he was wrong. I did have to. I looked from my dad's kind, worried eyes to David's greedy, desperate ones. He was a rat, and this was his last piece of cheese. He's lying, I said, but my voice was shaking. Grandpa built this. He built it all. David laughed, a short, barking sound. Did he? Did he really? Or did he have a partner? A partner no one ever heard about. A partner who mysteriously disappeared right before this place opened. My heart stopped. A partner. Grandpa. He always said he did it alone. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling. I ignored David. I looked at my dad. I have to know, I whispered. I have to. My dad's face was full of pain, but he nodded. He just nodded once. Okay, Lisa. Whatever it is, we'll face it. Together. Together. That one word was all I needed. I turned back to the wall. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely get the key into the tiny hidden lock. I could hear David behind me, breathing fast, huff 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 like a dog. Yes. Yes, that's it, he whispered. I turned the key. It made a loud click in the quiet night. The stone didn't move. Pushed it. Pulled it. Nothing. It's stuck, I said, panic rising in my throat. David's face went white. What? Well, you're doing it wrong. Turn it. Jiggle it. He lunged forward, his good hand reaching out. My dad slammed him back against the wall. Stay away from her. My dad roared, and for the first time he sounded as angry as I felt. While they were shouting, I looked closer. The click. It hadn't unlocked the stone. It had opened a tiny secret drawer. On the side of the brick. I never would have seen it. It wasn't a box. It was just a small metal tube. Inside there was a single rolled-up piece of paper. It was yellow, and it felt like old soft cloth. It was Grandpa's handwriting. What is it? David screamed, fighting against my dad. What's in the box? Where's the deed? Where's the proof? I unrolled the paper. It's a letter, I said. My voice was shaking as I read it out loud. To whoever finds this. It began. My name is Arthur Magana. And I was a coward. My blood ran cold. David was cackling, even as my dad held him. See? I told you. He was a thief. But I kept reading, my voice getting louder. I had a partner. My best friend, Robert. He died in an accident on this site. And I was scared. I was alone. I forged his name on the buyout papers. I did steal his half of the company. David was cheering. Yes, I've got you. It's all mine. He was screaming, but I wasn't finished. I have lived with this shame every day for 50 years. I read, the words blurring through my tears. But I paid for my sin. I found Robert's widow. I sent her 50% of everything I ever made. Anonymously. She doesn't even know who I am. But she's rich. Her family is safe. David's smile. It just froze. What? No. That's not. That's a lie. He was looking at the paper like it was a snake. David found the forged deed. I kept reading, my voice strong now. He's a small man and he's been blackmailing me. He doesn't know about this letter. He doesn't know I've already made it right. He thinks he's smart. But he's just loud. And then I read the last line. This letter is my confession. And it's also my trap. Yes. The police have been listening to our entire conversation. Goodbye, David. David looked down. I followed his eyes. On the bottom of the stone, a tiny blinking red light. Microphone. Grandpa had been recording him. For months. That's when the sirens, the real sirens, started. They weren't far away. They were right here. Red and blue lights flooded the alley, painting David's terrified, pale face. He looked at me. He looked at my dad. He looked at the blinking red light. He didn't run. He just crumpled. He sat on the cold ground and put his head in his hands. It was over. It was finally, truly over. My dad pulled me into his arms and I just let go. Cried. I cried for my grandpa, the good man who did a bad thing. I cried for my mom who chose the wrong side. And I cried for me. Because I was finally free. This whole story. It's been the hardest thing I've ever lived through. It showed me that family. It's not always who you're born to. It's about who stands up for you. Who tells you the truth. Who shows up when you're all alone. My grandpa. He wasn't perfect. But he was good. He made a mistake and he spent his whole life fixing it. And he loved me enough to trust me with his legacy. The good and the bad. If you've ever felt alone. If you've ever had to fight for what's right even against your own family. Then please hit that like button. Let me know I'm not the only one. Subscribe to my channel because this is just the beginning. I have a $100 million hotel empire to run. And I'm going to do it the right way. Share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. Anyone who needs to know that the truth is always worth fighting for. No matter what.